There's a difference between being quiet and being Sigma. You can be introverted, prefer solitude, and still not have that rare inner gravity that defines a Sigma male. The Sigma isn't just someone who enjoys being alone. He's someone who's whole when he's alone. His silence has weight. His detachment has purpose. He moves outside the social hierarchy, not because he can't fit in, but because he chooses not to. A Sigma male doesn't reject people, he simply outgrows the need for validation. While others chase recognition, he masters the art of invisibility. While others follow trends, he follows his own code. That's what makes him so misunderstood and so magnetic. He's the storm that doesn't announce itself, the presence that commands attention without saying a word. In this video, we'll uncover the 7 signs that separate true Sigma males from ordinary introverts. Traits that aren't about personality type, but about psychological strength, emotional discipline, and strategic solitude. Subscribe to UltraWise for more insights into the Sigma mindset, emotional control, and masculine self-mastery. And tell me in the comments, do you see your solitude as isolation or as your source of power? Independence that feels like power, not isolation. For most people, being alone feels like emptiness. For a true Sigma male, it feels like freedom. He doesn't need company to feel complete or noise to feel alive. His independence isn't a defense mechanism. It's a deliberate choice. He's not escaping people. He's mastering himself. Solitude for him is not a void. It's a forge, a place where focus sharpens, clarity grows, and his inner world becomes stronger than any outside influence. He's the kind of man who can sit in silence for hours and come out of it with a plan. While others need external validation to feel significant, the Sigma builds his identity from the inside out. His power lies in not needing the crowd to move. He moves because his instincts demand it. There's no performance, no social mask, just direction. This independence gives him a calm dominance, the kind that doesn't compete, but quietly outpaces everyone around him. The world mistakes his solitude for loneliness, but that's their projection, not his truth. He knows that real strength isn't measured by how many people surround you. It's measured by how solid you remain when no one does. His independence means he's accountable only to himself. When things go wrong, he doesn't look for someone to blame. He adapts, learns, and evolves. When things go right, he doesn't brag. He moves to the next mission. In a society addicted to noise, attention, and group validation, the Sigma's self-reliance looks rebellious. But it's not rebellion, it's liberation. He doesn't isolate to avoid connection. He isolates to refine it. He wants depth over distraction, meaning over movement, and truth over trends. His independence allows him to think clearly, love selectively, and act strategically. That's what separates him from the ordinary introvert. An introvert needs space to recharge. A Sigma needs space to create. Solitude isn't his escape, it's his empire. He doesn't disappear because he's afraid of people. He disappears because that's where he becomes unstoppable. Because when the Sigma male is alone, he isn't lonely. He's rebuilding the world inside his mind. And when he returns, he doesn't come back seeking attention. He comes back carrying results. Emotional control under pressure. A true Sigma male is defined not by how he acts when things are calm, but by how he stays calm when everything's collapsing. Pressure is where he reveals his real character. While others panic, react, or search for validation, the Sigma becomes still. His silence in chaos isn't weakness, it's control. He's mastered the art of feeling deeply without letting emotions hijack his judgment. That emotional discipline is his edge, the quiet force that makes him unpredictable and unbreakable. He doesn't suppress emotion, he channels it. Anger becomes strategy, pain becomes perspective, disappointment becomes data, The Sigma doesn't drown in emotion, he studies it, dissects it, and uses it as fuel. When he's betrayed, he doesn't lash out, he observes. When he's insulted, he doesn't defend. He recalibrates. His restraint isn't indifference, it's precision. Every reaction he withholds becomes another ounce of energy he saves for what actually matters. Action, not reaction. People will often mistake this composure for coldness because they can't comprehend the level of control it takes to stay centered when provoked. But the Sigma understands that emotion without direction is self-destruction. He's learned that most people lose not because they're weak, but because they let temporary feelings dictate permanent outcomes. So he rewired himself to remain logical even when his heart burned. That's his power. He feels, but he never folds. This control gives him presence. In an argument, he doesn't raise his voice. His calmness unnerves everyone else. In failure, he doesn't collapse. He recalculates. His stillness becomes his armor, his clarity, his weapon. The Sigma's mind doesn't chase drama, it builds solutions. That's why under pressure, while others crack, he adapts. While others fight to prove, he plans to win. This kind of emotional control doesn't make him robotic, it makes him dangerously composed. Because when everyone else is reacting emotionally, he's already 3 moves ahead. For the Sigma male, strength isn't in domination, it's in discipline. And the moment he learned to master emotion instead of being mastered by it, he stopped being predictable and started being powerful. Non-reactive intelligence. The Sigma male's mind is his greatest weapon, not because he's loud, but because he's strategically silent. His intelligence isn't displayed through endless debates or ego battles. It's shown in how he doesn't react. When provoked, he pauses. When insulted, he observes. When chaos erupts, he analyzes. His power lies in his ability to slow time internally, to process emotion and information separately, never allowing one to corrupt the other. That's what makes him dangerous in a world addicted to impulsive reactions. Most people are predictable. They argue when challenged, chase validation when doubted, and crumble when ignored. The Sigma does none of that. He knows that reacting gives away control, and control is something he never trades. Instead, he listens, watches, and dissects the motive behind every word. Every insult becomes data. Every manipulation attempt becomes a pattern. He doesn't fight fire with fire. He studies the flame until it burns itself out. His intelligence isn't just logical, it's emotional engineering. He understands people's psychology so well that he doesn't need to respond to every attack. He knows silence disarms more effectively than shouting ever could. He lets others expose themselves with words while he protects himself with observation. And the irony is, the quieter he stays, the louder his impact becomes. When a Sigma male chooses not to react, it's not passivity, it's strategy. He's protecting his energy from being hijacked by someone else's chaos. He's analyzing what others miss because they're too busy reacting. That's why he always seems one step ahead, because he's already processed what everyone else is still emotional about. People call him mysterious, detached, or intimidating, but what they're really feeling is the unease of someone they can't emotionally control. His composure exposes the noise in others. His stillness forces reflection. His lack of reaction becomes its own kind of authority. That's the essence of Sigma intelligence, not the hunger to prove he's right, but the discipline to wait until his silence proves everything. In a world full of impulsive minds, his non-reactive intelligence isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. Because when everyone else is reacting, he's already winning. Selective social energy. His Sigma male doesn't reject people, he refines access. His social energy isn't given, it's earned. To the outside world, this looks like distance or arrogance, but it's actually precision. He knows that every interaction costs energy, and not everyone deserves a share of his mental or emotional bandwidth. While others scatter their attention across meaningless connections, the Sigma invests it like currency, carefully, intentionally, and only where it compounds in value. He reads rooms in seconds. Before he even speaks, he's already assessed who's real, who's performing, and who's draining. His silence in social situations isn't shyness, it's observation. He studies behavior the way others scroll their phones, detecting patterns, micro-reactions, and emotional inconsistencies. Once he sees someone's energy doesn't align with his peace, he quietly withdraws, leaving no explanation, no confrontation, just absence. People often take this personally, assuming he's cold or disconnected. But the truth is, he's strategic. He's not antisocial, he's anti-drama, anti-fake, and anti-noise. The Sigma's presence is a privilege, not an entitlement. He prefers a handful of authentic connections over 100 shallow ones. To him, depth always outweighs quantity. He doesn't chase belonging, he creates his own ecosystem of truth, loyalty, and mutual respect. In a world obsessed with visibility, the Sigma male's restraint becomes magnetic. His selective energy makes people crave his validation because it's so rarely given. But he doesn't play that game. He doesn't give attention to manipulate. He gives it to connect. He's aware that attention is the purest form of power, and wasting it on people who don't value it is the fastest way to lose it. This selectivity is why he feels so calm around himself. He's not drained because his circle is clean. He's not overthinking because he knows where he stands. His peace doesn't come from isolation. It comes from curation. So when a Sigma male walks away from a room, he's not being rude. He's conserving power because he knows something most people don't. Not every crowd deserves your energy, and not every connection deserves your soul. Detachment from validation, loops. For the Sigma male, validation is noise, distracting, temporary, and meaningless. While most people live in loops of seeking approval, measuring worth by attention, or chasing recognition from others, the Sigma quietly steps outside the system. He's not addicted to being seen. He's addicted to being real. His self-worth doesn't fluctuate with opinions, likes, or compliments. He knows external validation is a currency that devalues the moment you start depending on it. This detachment didn't come naturally. Once he tried to prove himself, to friends, family, partners, society. He played by the rules, gave more than he got, and waited for acknowledgement that never came. But over time, he realized something powerful. The more he needed validation, the easier he was to control. Every compliment could calm him, and every criticism could destroy him. So he walked away from the loop, not out of arrogance, but out of liberation. Now, his validation comes from results, not reactions. He doesn't post to impress, he builds to express. He doesn't care if people understand his process because he's too busy mastering it. The Sigma male operates by internal metrics: discipline, peace, and progress. He knows that being misunderstood is the price of authenticity, and he's willing to pay it without hesitation. This detachment unnerves people who rely on emotional leverage. They can't guilt-trip him, flatter him, or manipulate him because his ego no longer needs feeding. Praise doesn't inflate him, and criticism doesn't shake him. His calm becomes unshakable because it isn't built on applause, it's built on alignment. In a world where everyone's addicted to being noticed, the Sigma's indifference becomes his quiet rebellion. He doesn't perform, he exists. And that existence, raw and unaffected, becomes magnetic. People chase his validation precisely because he doesn't hand it out. That's the paradox. The more he detaches from approval, the more powerful his presence becomes. Because when a man no longer needs validation, he becomes impossible to manipulate and unstoppable in his mission. For the Sigma male, the goal isn't to be admired, it's to be free. Purpose over popularity. The Sigma male doesn't wake up thinking about who likes him. He wakes up thinking about what drives him. While most people chase applause, he chases alignment. His compass isn't built from social approval or crowd noise, it's built from an inner calling that few can understand. Every move he makes, every project he touches, every silence he chooses, it's all anchored to one question. Does this serve my purpose? If the answer is no, he walks away without hesitation. To him, popularity is a trap disguised as success. It feeds the ego but starves the soul. He's seen how easily people compromise their values just to be seen. How authenticity gets replaced by performance and how truth gets diluted for attention. The Sigma refuses to play that game. He knows that chasing popularity makes you predictable, but living by purpose makes you powerful. This is why he can disappear for months without explanation, not because he's lost, but because he's building. He's crafting something that doesn't need to be broadcasted to be real. While others post for validation, he works for impact. His results speak when he doesn't, and though his silence might confuse the crowd, it's that very silence that protects his vision from distraction. Purpose, for him, is sacred. It's the mission that gives structure to his solitude. It's what keeps him disciplined when others lose focus. He doesn't follow trends, he studies cycles. He doesn't seek fans, he seeks evolution. He measures success not by how many people clap, but by how deeply he grows. Ironically, it's this indifference to popularity that makes him magnetic. People are drawn to his authenticity because it's rare, a calm confidence that doesn't need to shout to be felt. His purpose radiates through his presence. His conviction speaks louder than charisma ever could. The Sigma male knows that fame fades and crowds shift, but purpose endures, so he stays aligned with what matters, not what's trending. He doesn't need to be liked, he needs to be effective. Because, while popularity creates noise, purpose creates legacy. And that's the only thing he's interested in leaving behind. Strategic silence. The Sigma male silence is never empty. It's loaded. Every pause, every unspoken word, every calm withdrawal carries intention. To the untrained eye, it looks like detachment or passivity. But to those who truly observe him, it's clear. Silence is his sharpest weapon. He doesn't rush to speak, because he understands that reaction is the easiest form of control, and control to him is power, not over others, but over himself. He's mastered the art of holding his tongue when emotions beg him to lash out. While others reveal their weaknesses through words, he reveals nothing. In arguments, his quiet unnerves people. They interpret it as arrogance or indifference, but in truth, he's analyzing, measuring patterns, calculating what's worth responding to and what's beneath his time. His silence forces others to confront their own noise. It's psychological, and it's devastatingly effective. In relationships, his silence speaks louder than any declaration. When he pulls away, people feel the gravity of his absence. They begin to realize how much his quiet stability anchored their chaos. When a Sigma stops explaining, it means he's done negotiating peace with people who thrive on conflict. He knows that sometimes the most powerful statement is made by saying nothing at all. He uses silence as a mirror, reflecting truth back to people who can't face it. In that stillness, their masks fall off. Their intentions become clear. His detachment exposes manipulation faster than confrontation ever could, because silence doesn't just hold power, it reveals it. But make no mistake, his silence isn't avoidance. It's strategy. It's how he protects his energy, maintains composure, and preserves the clarity that gives him the edge. While others waste breath defending their worth, he lets results speak. While others react emotionally, he acts intentionally. In a world addicted to noise, endless opinions, arguments, and attention-seeking, his calm is rebellion, his silence is discipline, and his restraint, that's dominance disguised as peace. Because the Sigma male knows, when you master silence, you master the room. Everyone else reveals themselves. He doesn't need to fight for control. He simply waits and watches the world hand it to him. Leadership without seeking followers? The Sigma male never sets out to lead. That's exactly why people follow him. His leadership isn't born from authority or ego. It emerges naturally, like gravity. He doesn't demand loyalty. He inspires it. While others chase influence through words and titles, he earns it through consistency, depth, and quiet integrity. His power isn't loud, it's magnetic. People feel it in the way he carries himself, in how he listens, and in the calm confidence that says, I don't need to prove anything. He walks his own path, not because he thinks he's better, but because he refuses to live on autopilot. And that self-direction, that ability to move with purpose when everyone else seeks permission, draws others in. They see how his solitude isn't loneliness but mastery, how his boundaries aren't walls but lessons in self-respect. Without meaning to, he becomes the mirror that shows people what authenticity looks like in its rawest form. His leadership style is paradoxical. He leads by example, not by instruction. He doesn't push others to rise, he rises, and that elevation gives others permission to do the same. He doesn't compete, he demonstrates. He doesn't speak to impress, he speaks to awaken. His presence challenges complacency without confrontation. And in a world filled with noise and false confidence, his quiet authority cuts deeper than any motivational speech ever could. But make no mistake, the Sigma isn't interested in being anyone's hero. He doesn't crave followers or fans. If people walk beside him, it's because they recognize truth in his movement, not because he asked them to. His influence flows from authenticity, not ambition. He knows that real leadership isn't about control, it's about example. Even when people misunderstand his detachment as arrogance, he doesn't correct them. He knows those who are meant to understand will. That's the mark of his confidence. It doesn't need validation, and it never begs to be seen. So he keeps walking, silent and certain, and behind him, without ever asking for it, footsteps begin to echo, because true leaders don't gather crowds, they create clarity. And the Sigma male does that simply by being himself, unapologetically, relentlessly, and completely. In the end, the Sigma male doesn't rise by being louder. He rises by becoming clearer. His silence isn't distance, it's precision. His independence isn't arrogance, it's mastery. He doesn't need to prove his worth because his discipline already speaks for him. While the world competes for validation, he moves with purpose, while others try to be seen. He's busy becoming unshakable. His strength is quiet. His presence is rare. And that's exactly why the world feels it, even when he says nothing. You've just stepped into the mindset of the few who lead without seeking followers, the ones who walk alone because they've learned that solitude sharpens greatness. This is Ultra Wise, where strategy replaces noise and silence becomes power. Subscribe if you're done explaining yourself and ready to master your mind, your energy, and your purpose. And tell me in the comments, do you lead quietly from the shadows Or are you still learning how to let your silence speak for you?